Welcome back, everyone, to this next match, Fearless Empire versus Shadow Cartel. I'm CCB Fozzie, joined once again by Sir Squeebles, and I hope you like Tinkers, because we've got even more Tinkers for you coming up. Although this is another kind of different Tinker than what we've seen through most of the day, as Fearless Empire has brought back their Marauder plus Tinker setup. They've changed it up a bit. They no longer have the get in there, and now they've got more damage from VNIs, Vector Navy issues. But it still is, at its core, a setup that relies on a Chronos with a great tanky potential, and then the rest of the team uses a Tinker to keep itself alive.
Right, and on the Shadow Cartel, we see something that's, I won't even call it more standard because it is a little bit of a different setup with Rattlesnakes, but they have 2 Rattlesnakes, a Nighthawk and an Eos, 2 Flycatchers, 3 Worms, a Mollusk, and 2 Burst. I think the Shadow Cartel comp is really, really nice.
Yeah. So we've got geckos dropped across the board here from the Fearless Empire team as the match begins. Fearless Empire came in at 0. They're obviously trying to make sure that the opponent is as close to that Blaster Chronos as possible. And Fearless taking out these bursts if they can really quickly. That's, I think, a smart move.
And you saw 1 rep cycle come across onto Adam, and then it dropped, so presumably that's a range issue. There's no E-War interference here, and he does go down. That's actually big.
Yep.
Interestingly, we discussed before the match, if you're Shadow Cartel, you've got to look at something like a Vector Navy issue, which importantly has a fairly limited drone bay. And you've got to wonder if you can kite out and maybe even have your support kill some drones.
Yep.
That really is an option with a lot of these drone metas, is some drone-on-drone action.
So I'd expect that'd be what they'll do if they can't kill the Proteus, but the Proteus is successfully dropping right now.
Yeah.
Weirdly, this is a dual tank Proteus, it looks like, because there is a shield booster on it. I mean, it's not a terrible fit, but obviously it's not enough to keep it alive against this damage.
And now he's just a lost male.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. These VNIs, they're going to take them down really quickly. That's easy DPS off the field. The VNI can fit a really nice armor buffer tank, but it's still not going to have a TT resist profile. It doesn't matter now that they don't have Logi. But it definitely is a capable ship in something like this. But typically you want your Logi Proteus to live beyond like the minute and a half
Yes,
mark.
that tends to help.
Yeah.
The longer you can keep that ship alive, the better. There is a lot of damage coming in at that Rattlesnake, Raytheon there, but with the Vector Navy issue down, this is a smart move for Shadow Cartel. They got to knock off this vulnerable DPS. Now the Chronos is going to be very hard to kill. Chronoses have the ability to go into Bastion mode, which gives them incredibly strong tanks, but locks them in place.
Right.
The reason you don't see a ton of Chronoses in the tournament is that in this kind of what this match is going to turn into, where it's just the Marauder versus the entire rest of the other team,
right.
The other team can get out of range of a Chronos a lot more easily than they could a Paladin or a Golem.
And even when the Chronos isn't alone, I mean, obviously it's easy once it's down to just him, but it is sort of strange to see a gunboat used as your Marauder. The Paladin has been used successfully, absolutely, outside of the certain micro jump drive incidents. But yeah, the Chronos is just not going to apply as well or project as well as something like a Golem, which is why a Golem is a really common pick. That DPS goes really far. Not necessarily true here. It did work out for him, though, that they did catch this Rattlesnake. And by caught, I mean there's no tackle mods, but he's still dying.
Yeah,
so
he is going down. At this point, he's taking damage pretty much entirely from the Chronos. The Chronos is hitting him for low damage. He's very deep into fall off at this point. Chronoses have a lot of fall off. He is probably going to be able to kill the Rattlesnake, but with the whole rest of the team collapsing around them, it's going to be probably a pretty easy points win for Shadow Cartel.
Yeah, that was probably pretty comfortable for them, I would imagine. There was no moment there where they weren't in complete control. I will say I definitely agree with going for the burst, though. The Logi Frigate, especially in a 12v12 comp, there's so much damage on the field that bursts are an easy thing to kill. We've seen a lot of things like Heretics and Worms used to kill off support wings effectively. But the burst is still nothing to scoff at. It is a little fragile. The reps are not massive, but they are consistent, and they can really sustain your Frig Wing, and they can add to the tank of even your bigger holes. So.
So if you remember a few seconds ago when I said the Rattlesnake is going to die, obviously I was wrong.
Yeah.
The Rattlesnake got enough range. He moved out to quite far away from the center of the arena now, and was just able to get far enough out that the Chronos can't hit him anymore.
Yeah, interestingly, well, I guess he had to have had a prop mod to get there, right? I wasn't watching his speed at all.
He never went all that fast. I think he just, because he started out at like 30 kilometers anyway,
okay.
So they just started moving slowly away.
Right.
And he's now basically just sitting there. Doesn't need to do a whole lot. He's still moving away, but not, again, at any kind of fast pace. They're going to try to break this Chronos, but a Chronos in Bastion is a very tough nut to crack.
I will bet you 1,000 ISK that the Chronos dies.
You know what? I don't think I'm going to take that bet, considering that
Just
he's
saying.
already like in half armor.
And I do mean the in-game currency, just so we're very clear about that. But he is getting into low armor, and the great thing about taking rattlesnakes into a tinker like this, where there's a battleship core, which is most often the case, is he's not going to be able to mitigate any of that damage. And rattlesnakes are absolute sledgehammers. He does have smart bombs. I'd be interested to see how those are affecting the drone tank. But I don't think it's going to be enough, and I'm starting to regret my bet a little bit. Nope, never mind. I'm pretty confident.
Unless he can wipe out all these drones in like one of the next cycles. He's killing off some of the drones, but of course these are Hela drones.
He's killing a worm as well, actually. This worm of... what? How? Did the worm brawl into the smart bombs?
The worm got in close enough to get hit by blasters.
Great.
And did end up dropping. I guess he wasn't keeping up enough transversal. The Kronos as well just boosted himself like up.
I feel foolish now. My faith in these rattlesnakes is turning me into a liar.
I think the Kronos might have been bait tanking there. He may have just let himself.
Yeah.
Because you see the reps he's getting at this point. He's getting like 40% of his armor in one go.
And then the flycatcher of Coriel decided, I'm just going to sit still, and then once I hit armor, I'll try to move. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. But I appreciate trying something different. And the Kronos, God, just die, please. I need some ISK.
Shadow Cartel proving that there's no match that's too in the bag for their small ships to make mistakes.
Well, I think it's sort of, they don't want to discourage Fearless from coming back next year. So I think this is Shadow Cartel investing. It's like not overfishing salmon, you know? You got to let them leave enough so that they're still there next year. And I think that's what they're doing here.
I'm confused about whether this Kronos is actually bait tanking or not, because now he's into structure. He was tanking so well there for a moment.
Right.
He may have just run out of pace in his AAR. Like the common fit for these will be dual rep AAR, normal rep, and he's like sliver of structure. There he goes.
Dunked. Yes.
That is the match.
Yeah, it was exciting. I had a really good time.
So with that, Shadow Cartel will be moving on. Fearless Empire is eliminated from this tournament. We're going to send you back to the guys in the analysis desk, and then be back soon for Waffles versus the Methodical Alliance.